UHS event called KUKULU, Pillars of Mauna Kea, featuring Kumu case. So this is a collaboration between our library exhibit, KUKULU Hewai e Mana exhibit, open until October 31st, Hawaiian Pacific Studies course, Hanabai Hawaii, and Political Science course, Nonviolent Political Alternatives. So Kumu case will walk us through the history of Kukia Mauna, the protection of the sacred mountain, kapu aloha, the code of conduct, the method of transformation, and where we stand today, and how can we get involved? How can we be part of KUKULU, stand together as a multitude? So I want to hand the torch to Kabena to introduce Kumu case. Yes.
Yeah, aloha. I'm Kavena. I'm the Hawaii Pacific Resources Librarian at UH West Oahu. A little bit of housekeeping. If you have questions, just put them in the chat. And we do want to prioritize questions from our UH West Oahu students. So if you are a UH West Oahu student, can you mark your question with an asterisk so we know to put those at the top? And with that, I would like to introduce Auntie Pua Case. For those of you who don't know, she was born and raised on the island of Hawaii. She's a kumuhula, a teacher, also the lead coordinator and project director of Mauna Kea Education and Awareness. She's been part of the Mauna Kea movement for the past 10 years, involved in both the community and frontline actions to safeguard the Mauna. She's also one of my Aloha Aina heroes. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Auntie Po.
Aloha mai kākou, and I see that this class is called Nonviolent Political Alternatives. And I love that title because that's a large part of how we stand, not just for Mauna Kea, but for every single place and everything that we stand for. So we're going to start with how that's possible in action. So how that's possible is to start by setting our intention. And when we set our intention, we're going to go straight to the ahu. And the ahu is a place on the Mauna where before we do anything else, we stop there. We set our intention. We address the Wākea, which is the top of the mountain and beyond, and we proceed. So I am going to take you to the Mauna as if we were there right now. And we start this way. We address all of the nature beings, the elemental beings, and we set our conduct in that way. Na au makua, mai ka lahiki a ka lākau, mai ka ho'okui a ka halawai. Na au makua ia kahina kua ia kahina alo, ia ka'a kau I ka lani. O kiha I ka lani, o we I ka lani, nunulu I ka lani, ka holo I ka lani. Eia nā pula pula a o kou, mauna a Wākea. E malama o kou ia mākou, e ulu I ka lani, e ulu I ka honua, e ulu I ka pai aina o Hawaii. E ho mai ka ike, e ho mai ka ikaika, e ho mai ke aka mai, e ho mai ka maupopo pono, e ho mai ka ike papa lua, e ho mai ka mana. In that way, we begin the protocol of nonviolent action, of spiritual well-being, of setting our intention, and knowing that our code of conduct is laid before us. Now with that, if we were on the Mauna, and this is the ahu called Kanaka Leo Nui, literally we have been here perhaps thousands of times since 2010. So when we get to the Mauna, and we're all facing Mauna a Wākea, which you can see in the distance, that's why we're here today. That's why we're joined together today. We begin in this way after we set our intention. We begin with a chant. And why we do that is because if you really have connected to what you stand for. You believe that there's an exchange, a communication, an expectation, a responsibility. And so our voice reaches all the way to Mauna Kea. And so I'm going to ask Kawena to put that chant there. It's called Malana Mai Ka'u. And if you were with me on the Mauna right now, you'd be doing this. Malana mai ka'u me puna me hilo, hele mai kona me kohala me hamakua he ka ele o waipio e pola o mahiki, he uka o ai mea he awa kawai hai, he kupe no kawa o poli ahu, he pala mauna a Wākea i luna. Pa'akua hivi ke ali I ka wa'a, ohia I ka hana ana tue, hie, hie, hie. So by way of that, I will introduce myself. My name is Pua Case, o Pua Case ko uinoa, o Mauna a Wākea ku Mauna. Mai wai mea mai au mai ka moku o ke ave, hau oli no au, e launa me o kou ke iala. My name is Pua. My mountain is Mauna Kea. I come from Waimea, under the slopes of the Mauna. I'm born and raised here. I have ridden the slopes of this mountain from the front side of Waimea my entire life with my dad, who was in charge of water for Parker Ranch. So we call Mauna Kea, Mauna a Wākea, Big Mama, as the Paniolo do here in our community. I'm going to show you by way of this chant, Malana Mai Ka'u, why the Mauna is sacred. Because isn't that something that we all ask when we stand for something and we say it's sacred? What does that mean? And how do we see that by way of the ancestral chants that were laid before us and passed down to us? And all of this is part of why we stand in the way that we do. So when you go to the ahu, you chant this chant if you're from Hawaii Island and you have stood in our circle. Malana Mai Ka'u, and it's actually a voyaging chant found in Heleno Emalani, a book of the chants of Queen Emma. And I'm going to explain this chant to you in the way of showing you why this mountain is sacred to me, because I can only speak for myself, not even for my ohana. Today, I'm giving you a glimpse of our life standing for Mauna Kea and why the Mauna is sacred to us and why we stand in the manner that we do. But I'm not speaking for the Lahui, because every person who has stood for Mauna Kea and beyond has their own story. So this is mine. Malana mai ka'u me puna me hilo. Hele mai kona me kohala me hamakua. When we come to the mountain, we let the mountain know we are from one of these districts. I happen to be from both Kohala and Hamakua. This chant is a canoe chant. Will say that Waipio is the hull. Mahiki, where I come from, is the deck, the flatland. Waimea, where I'm born and raised, is upland. Kauai High, down at the ocean, is the harbor, is Makai, so Mauka to Makai. Now this line is going to tell you, if you stand for the Mauna, the reciprocity of that. He kupe no kawa'a o poliahu, to the voyagers, no matter where they go in the world, be it the worldwide voyage, be it to another island, be it to the continent, the kupe, the end piece of your canoe, is always secure on Pu'upoliahu, the Pu'u, the hill on the top of Mauna Wākea. And for us who stand for the Mauna, we believe the same. No matter where I go in the world to speak for Mauna Kea or to speak and align with other sacred places and other situations, issues, and challenges that other people face, my back, because I stand for the Mauna, is always secure on the mountain. So I carry the mountain with me wherever I go. He pala Mauna Wākea I Luna is evidenced everywhere throughout the stance for Mauna Kea. It means Mauna Wākea is the sealant that joins us all together, that has united us as the world's highest mountain from the seafloor. Have we not seen the world unite, especially in 2019? But long before that, it began. Pa'akuahiwi ke ali'i kava'a means to me, the mountain is where the ocean begins, because from the mountain is where you get the hull for your canoe. From the first rainfall that falls on the top of the Mauna, it trickles down and becomes the ocean, and then comes all the way back again. And lastly, and most importantly, when you stand, ohohia I ka hana ana kue, stand in the joy of standing. And what word means that? It's the word ohohia. Ohohia, have joy, I ka hana, in the work that you are doing. And I will say, no matter the challenge that any of us have faced, standing for Mauna Kea and then standing for what you're standing for right now, in whatever community you are, have we not known the transformation, the change, and the joy of our lifetime to be in relationships, alliances, friendships, as family, tied together by a commitment to stand for the sacred? So through the chants, I'm explaining to me why this Mauna is sacred. So we're going to go to just the names that you might know Mauna Kea by. Mauna Wākea, Mountain of the Sky Father. Mauna Kea, Mauna Kea. And today, you may see Mauna Kea written as one word, because in some newspapers in Olelo, Hawaii, it's written as one word, and in some it's written as two. For me, born and raised with it written as two words, I continue to do that. I'm just going to give Kawena the little. So for all of those reasons and many more that would be a semester course, Mauna Kea is the sacred piko, the center, the portal, because that's where we come from. And Mauna Kea is the piko that has joined us together, just like the piko on the top of our pole. And Mauna Kea, you will hear, is the Vawakua. So for those of you studying nonviolent action, in the Vawakua, where our elemental beings dwell, there is a consciousness, there is a connection to those ancestors, because Vawakua is the ancestral realm. So when you come up to the Mauna, as soon as you hit the Ahu, you're actually on the mountain. And so we say to everyone and ourselves, when you come to the Mauna, you are in the realm of the elements. You are in, for lack of better word, the holy place. You are in a natural temple. You are in the place of your highest conduct. That is the Vau Akua. Where you live is the Vau Kanaka. So you can see that when we went to the Mauna to stand, automatically there was a charge given to us saying, you are in the realm of the Vau Akua. how do you act, behave, and conduct yourself there? There is a protocol when you enter into sacred spaces. And for us, because the Mauna was the Wākea, it was very easy to be able to say that and for people to see that and experience it. So what's on Mauna Kea that we are protecting? Mauna Kea is a place not of big heiau on the top, but actually shrines that you find elsewhere in the Pacific, that you find in some places on the islands. They are the shrines that were set up by our people. And if you go to the next one, how many are there? That many and more. That many and more. So one of the reasons that we stand is to protect what was set up as a foundation between us and the heavens, not by our hands, but by the hands of those that came before us. And I'm going to kind of go along here in a pace that gets us to a hard stop at 1:30, so that I make sure that there's time to play a few clips and there's time for questions. So I'm not going to go too quickly, and you can stop me if I do, but I'm not looking in the chat, so you're going to just have to let me know. I'm going to just stay paced for now so that I'm covering enough so that when I get to kapu aloha and the real study of that there'll have been a foundation of why we're even standing. So there's 13 telescopes up on the mountain right now, as well as other additional buildings. So maybe 25 buildings, but 13 telescopes. And there have been 2 that are currently decommissioning or decommissioned. So this is your view when you get up to Mauna Kea. And what I'm not going to cover today is how that happened, because there are reasons that many of them are up there, and some we didn't even know were going up, or permits were given later. I'm not covering that today. I'm just letting you know that's your view plane. So as you can see, again, this is the setting up of the protection for Mauna Kea. As you can see, in 2009, the first talk of TMT, the 30-meter telescope that would be 18 stories tall, you start hearing about it. We didn't hear about it, but others that were already standing for the Mauna long before us did. And so when you look at 2019, where many people got involved, or maybe even 2015, let's go back to 2009, because 2009, the 30-meter telescope is starting to be introduced, spoken of. And so this is where it would go, not on the summit, because there's no room, but on the northern plateau, which is overlooking Waimea, which is a pristine area over the water aquifer, also known as Waimea, in the circle of shrines that I showed you on the map a little earlier. There you go, TMT, too many telescopes. It's the one too many, the one too big. So before I go on, it wasn't that we were against astronomy, against science. Maybe some of us were, but speaking for my family, it was the one too many, the one too big. 18 stories did not belong on our Mauna and will never belong on our Mauna. And the mountain said so. And so we listened and we proceeded. Okay, I'm going to pause here for a second, and I'm just going to ask you to take a look at some of the most bravest, courageous, smartest people I know when it comes to not just the 30-meter telescope, but everything that's happening and has happened on Mauna Kea. So when I say that there were those involved before we ever found out about it, I'm going to let you know who they are. And some of them aren't in this picture. And this is a picture of the first contested case hearing. When we're in Hilo and we have been providing our testimony, and we pause one day. And this is in 2010 and 2011. So that's Deborah Ward at the end from the Sierra Club. There's Kuching. There's myself, Kealoha Pishoda, Paul Nevis, and Marty Townsend from Kahea. So I'm going to give you just a teeny bit of history. So for me to stay on track, I'm just going to say that I have my notes here today, so I stay right in what I need to share with you today. A timeline of standing for this mountain as experienced by my family, the Flores case Ohana. So in 2010, we get the nudge to step into this case. We don't really know much about it, except that we know that we have to try to do our part to stop the construction of this 18-story telescope. And some of this is for another time and another class. So I'm just going to go ahead with saying again, this is a glimpse of our whole life since 2010 that couldn't possibly fit in an hour half. So bear with me that I've selected to do what I can in this time based on this class. So in 2010, we get the nudge, and my husband and my then 9-year-old daughter, 9 or 10 at the time, go into Hilo to ask for standing in a contested case hearing to stop the permit for the 30-meter telescope, the construction permit. When they get there, these are the petitioners that have already been in this case and have already asked for standing. So we are granted standing, and we become the Flores case Ohana, the 6th petitioner. We go through the contested case hearing, and in 2012, in Hilo, in February, we give our last presentations, our last closing testimonies, and we lose. We lose the first contested case hearing, and then we're going to go to the Supreme Court. But I always say to anybody who's listening, a loss is sometimes a win. Imagine if we had won the first contested case hearing. 6 of us and the supporters that we had at the time in 2012 would have experienced a victory, and it would have been over. Just imagine that. None of what we have experienced since would have occurred. So I have to say, when I really think about it, the loss was a win for us because it gave us time, gave us experience and alliance building, unifying, becoming brave and courageous and stronger. All happened after that. So how exciting. We lost. So we proceed to the Supreme Court. In 2014, we hear that the groundbreaking is going to take place. And I don't know who's on this call today because I can't see any of you except for a very few. So you may have been there. And if you were there, I'm so happy you're on this call. If you weren't, this is your really, truly your time to learn from me, who was there. So in 2014, we hear that the groundbreaking is going to happen. And first, it was just going to be a few of us. We're going to go and hold space. I'm trying to get that light out of here. That's the light in my house, sorry. We were going to hold space at the Ahu. And then everybody started saying, what about me? What about me? I want to be at the Ahu to hold space and just say kalamai to the Mauna, that we couldn't stop the groundbreaking. But so many people want to be involved that we start holding workshops in Waimea, and at least 200 people come. So it wasn't by chance that we were there in 2014. We were trained. We get there to the Ahu, we have a plan, and the day commences. And as you know, the groundbreaking is halted on that day. And many different people were a part of it, that either they're physically or supporting us from afar. It took all of us to stop that groundbreaking. So that's 2014. 2015, March 25th, Lanakila Manguel hears that the trucks are coming up, the construction trucks. And if you haven't seen all this, just go on YouTube because you can find all of this. And he heads up the Mauna and he puts the call out. Havani and I are actually in Germany at the time. We are recording her CD, Kukia Mauna, Together We Rise. So we are communicating with Lanakila and others through Sacred Facebook Messenger. And we keep doing that until we return on April 1st. April 2nd, there are the first arrests of 32 up on the Mauna. I quit my job. I start going full-time as a protector for Mauna Kea. I'm a middle school teacher, and now I'm going to be a protector for the mountain. On June 24th, we stood in lines on the Mauna, didn't we? We locked arms, and there was no turning back for us. We said, on this day forward, there will be no turning back. At the end of that year in December, there's a ruling from the Supreme Court that says that we were granted to do the contested case over. So instead of 6 of us, there's now about 19 of us, and we go into the second contested case hearing. And in the end, we lose at that second contested case hearing, but did we lose? No, we won. All of these things are in divine timing. So again, when you think it's a loss, it's sometimes a win. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next slide. So this is line 4 on June 24th, 2015. And in the middle there is my daughter, Kapule Flores, who was 15 at the time. She had been the one, as I said, to go with her dad to ask for standing in 2011 in the first contested case hearing. She's now 15, and she is standing in the Nakalaiva'a canoe line, and that is where she chose to stand that day. So we continue to stand for Mauna Kea as a people, and we're building our alliances, and we're doing the work every day. And then in 2019, didn't we hear that Governor Ige had granted the permit to begin construction? So what do? We start rallying. We start meeting behind closed doors. We start meeting on the phone, and we say, what are we going to do? Do we think that our people, all people, will stand for the Mauna one more time? So right here, I'm going to say that kapu aloha, the term kapu aloha, and we're going to watch a little clip on it. The term kapu aloha really starts on the Mauna at the groundbreaking in 2014. We say kapu aloha now when you go up the Mauna. Kapu aloha if you're going to stop the groundbreaking. Who knows what that term means at that time? Only those who have been in the ceremonial circles all the years beforehand, who have ceremonied on Mauna Kea, who have ceremonied at the volcano, who have been in the circle where kapu aloha is a guideline. They know what kapu aloha is, but not everybody. And it strengthens as we go along. So I'm going to go to the next slide. And then I'm going to say that in 2019, here we are. We go through all of those steps and we end up here in July of 2019. So at this moment, kapu aloha becomes our guiding principle, our protocol, our code of conduct for nonviolent action, but also setting the stage for the ceremony on the ala, that which will tie us together, that which will guide our behavior. Because in nonviolent action, just imagine if you weren't on the Mauna, having to lead thousands of people with no security. There is no security on the mountain. There is only a team of individuals called kapu aloha. They're not there to act, to kick you out, to discipline you. They're not there for that. They're there to help you. They're there to help you if you need something. They're there if the police come to stand between you and the police officers. That's the commitment they make to the lahui. So what really is kapu aloha to us at that time? So I'm going to ask Kawena to take us to the Mauna, straight there, sitting on the ala, as two of us define what is kapu aloha at that moment to us. And the other individual with me is on the Alaka'i team there. His name is Andre Perez, and he is very steeped in nonviolent action, nonviolent direct action. So between he and I, we're going to provide you with a little bit of a video that will make an attempt to explain to the masses in 2019, if you're going to come up to the Mauna, this is what kapu aloha is.
Okay, let me know if you cannot hear the sound. I think I did it correctly.
So as Kawena is doing that, let's see. This, oh, here we go.
Aloha, Andre Perez. I'm from Koloa, Kauai.
Aloha, Pua Case. I'm from Pu'ukapu, Waimea. Mauna Kea is my mountain.
What does kapu aloha mean to you, and what is its strength?
When I first encountered kapu aloha was during ceremony on Kaho'olave, and it's my understanding that it was instituted by Uncle Parley Kanakaole, I believe, during the 1992 healing ceremony. And at that time, the purpose was to maintain the kapu, the sanctity of the ceremony, through the conduct of the people who were participating. And my understanding of kapu aloha is that it's rooted in discipline around aloha values. But I also understand that kapu aloha is not passive. Kapu aloha is discipline. And Kapu Aloha keeps us at our highest individual standards on how we carry ourselves, how we conduct ourselves, how we treat people, how we engage with people in ways that are rooted in dignity and humanity.
So if you look at the word ceremony and just start from there, how you conduct yourself in a ceremony. So in our early ceremonies in the 1990s, Kapu Aloha was a guideline for us. With a whole list of what you're going to do, what you're going to bring, there was the term, when you come, from the moment you get here, is Kapu Aloha. And before we even looked at the human realm, how we're going to treat one another, how we're going to conduct ourselves, we were looking at how we are going to immerse ourselves into the space that we were going to be conducting ceremony in and with. So Kapu Aloha was the way in which we were going to interconnect, honor, have reverence, have respect beyond the human, but to the elements, to everything you were calling, the unseen that you were asking to be here in the midst. When you pulled into the parking lot, you already sensed that there is a manner in which one conducts themselves when they are in the sacred. You become the sacred. You take on all of those attributes, characteristics. For chanters and dancers, because that's where I first learned it, already that was a given. And then when we extended the ceremonies open to more and more people, there needed to be more of an explanation. So at the beginning, when it was Kapu Aloha, there was no need to say anything. It was like Kapu Aloha, you said yes, and you already knew. Then when there needed to be an explanation for that so others would understand what that meant, that's where multiple definitions came out. Well, to me, Kapu Aloha means this. To me, Kapu Aloha means this. But it was rooted in chants. It was rooted in values. Kapu Aloha, that's not new terms for us. Old, ancient, guiding, teaching terms, regulating terms for us. So when we use it today, we are still in a ceremony. Standing for Mauna Wākea, you are standing in the realm from the Wākua to the Waukanaka, because the Mauna is everywhere. So when we say we are going to Kapu Aloha in a certain space, we are going to set a code of conduct as if we were in ceremony, because we are. So with that said, everyone who comes commits because they have to, because it's a guiding principle here. Kapu Aloha is the manner in which we stand, and if you don't understand that, I always say think about your most sacred place, be it a halepule, be it a temple, be it wherever you go, that you are in your most sacred. That is what we are asking, because everything we stand for right here on this ala is the most sacred. So Kapu Aloha is going to help us to become that. And yes, it is not passive. Kapu Aloha means we are fierce in the love of our land. We stand stronger because of it. We stand braver. We stand steeped in ancestral values, guidance, protection, safeguarding. So we are standing with all that we have, for all that we hold dear, in the best way that we can. And that is an interpretation that is necessary for Kapu Aloha right here, right now.
And I would say that Kapu Aloha
I have to say that definition of kapu aloha, I could not have said any better today. And that video will go on beyond that for about 23 minutes. And for those of you who are in the class that I am exchanging with today, and for all the rest of you who just said, I want to be here today too, thank you for being here. But to this class that is studying nonviolent alternatives, there are so many resources on the term and the action, the principle and the protocol of kapu aloha that you can find on YouTube videos, you can find in research documents, you can find in the stories of our experiences on the mountain. So don't think it stops there with that one video. There are beautiful descriptions and explanations. But let me say, with thousands of us on the mountain on certain days, with 30 of us on the mountain on other days, there is no way to secure that container unless, one, you are in a sacred place that already dictates that, and two, that you have those values, the commitment from the people, because our security was their self-discipline. And I'm talking every single person there. And it was a learning experience. We didn't all come in having led a ceremonial life. You may have, but for the masses, they were coming there because they wanted to, one, touch that. They wanted to dance on the ala because the prayers, the chants, the dances, those tie it all together. So kapu aloha is the component that has so many different parts of it that makes it work. It's not simple. It takes training. It takes commitment and buy-in. But when you do, what results is a stance on Mauna Kea. Not just on Mauna Kea, but look at the stances that have occurred on every island since. They all carry what we all learned on Mauna Kea. It has permeated through us because it felt right. It felt safe. It felt secure. It felt like there was a conduct and a discipline, and it felt like our ancestors were guiding and leading us and still are. So there's so many things about kapu aloha that is part of nonviolent action, but it only can occur, in my opinion, if you're going to utilize what we used on the mountain. If you are from here, you cannot take this to somebody else. They have their own belief system, their own code of conduct, their own value terms, and their own chants and dances, and their own stories and prayers. That is initiated in their own stances. This is what we have initiated here. So I think I'm actually going to pause right here before I go to what it takes to maintain a movement and see if there's any questions, Kavena, that have to deal specifically with what we've talked about so far. And maybe I can answer it now. Maybe it might take me a little research depending on what the question is. If there's none, I will go on to what it takes. But I'll pause if there is a question directly, because I'm not going to look at the chat. I'm going to get kind of distracted by that. So I'm not going to do that.
I don't see anything in the chat right now, but if anybody has, especially our students, if anybody has any questions, you can unmute right now.
Yes, let's go with the students for now, and then we can open up to anyone else. And if there aren't any, either I've been really clear and you're all along the same ride and journey with me, or somehow I've left you behind. And that's why I don't like to be on Zoom presentation, but what the heck? We're all used to it and we can, travel on this va'a together.
Auntie, I think you've been very clear.
Oh, oops. Am I okay to go forward then?
Yep, looks like it.
Okay. Okay, so let's just pause for a minute so I can pause and get myself into what it takes. And you can get ready to absorb that information. So, road closed due to desecration. We came a long way from 6 petitioners and 20 of our friends. We are now at 2019, and we are thousands. And we are not just from here, but we are from everywhere. And our alliances, leaders from tribes, nations, individuals have traveled from around the world to present to us on the ala, on the roadway, to present to the kupuna, to meet them, they who are sitting in their chairs, who have refused to move, and who have said, this is where we're going to be, and we will be arrested, not you, the young ones. This is our time. And I will say, if you watch the videos, that day, standing there on the microphone, in my own experience, watching the kupuna, but being on the microphone and getting my instructions from them. One kupuna saying, I just want everybody to be in silence because I want to have this moment. Or another saying, I want everyone to chant when I'm being led out. So everything I was saying on the microphone was per instruction by individual elders who were being arrested that day. Then after the elders, I really want to pay tribute to one, the manawahine. And manawahine is a term that we got from actually our relatives from Aotearoa, who saw us in 2015 standing in the crosswalk on Mauna Kea and called us as women manawahine. That's where we received that term. But all of the manawahine who stood right after the elders, right before the next group of elders, and took their place. And not just the manawahine, but all the men and the boys that you didn't see, because all the videos usually don't show them sitting, because we instructed them to sit behind those manawahine, and not just them, but every single person who showed up that day and stood on the side, and we said, just hold space. Just contain yourself. Make our lahui proud in the way that you conduct yourself. And they did. And not just them, but every single person who was watching us online, cheering us on, inspiring us to stand, encouraging us to hold our ground. Every single person had a function and a place. So I really want to say that when I say it's a kako thing, that this movement is about everybody being taught by Mauna Kea how to stand in a righteous, mana, pono manner of being. These are the days that taught us how to do that. So what does it take to maintain that? It takes a heck of a lot of work. So we'll go to the next one. Takes things like this. So if you're running an organization right now, you know exactly what I mean. So again, I'm going to speak from me, Pua case. I'm not generalizing. This is my perception, my experience, my truth as I've stood for the mountain really now 15 years almost, because from 2010, although I'm born in the bosom of this mountain, standing from 2010 till this moment right now. It takes this. In 2015, after we come down from June 24th, I myself realized that so many people came to help us in June 24th, 2015, like flew in from Oahu, from Maui, from Kauai, right as we were making that call that in the morning, they were like making their reservations and they said, I'm coming. I'm coming, I'm going to stand with you. But what I realized is the reason for it, the sacredness of Mauna Kea, the historical part of it, the ceremonial part of it. If you weren't steeped in that and maybe lived away from Hawaii or even lived on Moku o Keawe, you may not have been brought up knowing all of that. So when I quit my job, this is what I did. And this is what it takes. This is what it takes. I sat 5 women down in Kuhio Village, Hawaiian homes, around a kitchen table. And we said, we're going to start an organization that is going to be 24/7 Mauna. Because in my experience and in my support and assisting of different situations and challenges like Standing Rock, like the Winnemem Wintu fighting to bring the salmon back to California, the Ohlone tribes, those against other pipelines. Those lines I have stood in. What I find is if there is one organization that says we will be the constant, visible presence for what we stand for, we will not disappear from the view of the developer, of the business, of whoever is going to desecrate and destroy what you hold near. So we said, we will be that. So we set up an organization. We received a fiscal sponsor, KAHEA. We are now with 7th generation for Indigenous peoples because we are much bigger at this point. We wrote radical Indigenous social justice grants, and we started to go into schools. We started to stand every way that we could. And we put together projects and we said we will be on social media every day. We will travel to wherever we need to, and we will do our part to stand for Mauna Kea as all of you do your part. But I know many organizations in Hawaii who are that 24/7 organization for what they stand for decades. And those who are just starting right now. When you make that commitment, here's what it takes. I made a commitment over 10 years ago, probably 12 now, that I would wear Mauna Kea as the lead coordinator and the project director every single day until the TMT is no longer a threat. I thought maybe that would be 1 or 2 years, to be honest. I said, I can wear Mauna Kea every day for a couple of years. It's been 12 years. I made that commitment not to any human being. I I made that commitment to Poliahu. I made it to Mo'oinanea. I made it to Mauna Kea. I said, I will be your billboard. I will wear my Mauna shawl. I will wear my shirt, my earrings, my jacket, and I will represent the Mauna in my highest conduct every single day. I'm still doing that. So I think the lesson there is be careful what you commit to. Be ready for the longevity of it, because it might not just be a couple years. It might be forever. But I made that commitment. So I'm going to just let you know some of the things that it takes. What we have up here, it takes a constant rallying of people. So if you're on this call, how many of you remember this from On the Mauna? E na hoa aina, e na hoa velolike, e na hoa pili, e na hoa lo, wo, 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 ha. And you all said, aloha aina. Kūkulu e na kūkulu e ha e kūkulu. He mau maka koa na makaka eo. And we all said, and say it with me now, eo. E hu, he kukia I mauna ku, he po haku ku e, he ili kapua lo wo ha, he koa vai e ola, e hu. I wrote that. I wrote that not even as a song, as a chant. I wrote it as a song. And I was inspired by 2015 when I saw the KÖKULU, the pillars, standing arm in arm in Mauna Kea. And as I looked up and I walked up that mountain and I saw the line standing and I saw my community there, I said, Waimea is here today. And beyond Waimea, I said, KÖKULU, these are the pillars who will stand. So I wrote a song when I went home. But when we went to the mountain in 2019 and we all brought our individual chants and prayers and we all taught on the Mauna, I said, oh, it's not really a singing. This is not appropriate for singing while I'm right here. This is appropriate for a call and response. So these are some of the things that if you're a 24/7 organization, or if you're not, that perhaps will spark some projects for you or inspire you or give you ideas. So we came down from the Mauna in 2020. Why? Because we found out they weren't coming. We didn't just make an arbitrary decision, oh, it's over, let's go down. We said on March 25th, now I want you to really hear this, March 25th, 2020, we come down. March 25th, 2015 was when we went up. Isn't that amazing? It was the same day years later. We come down, and as I said on the ala every day, I knew that people were going to dramatically miss being on the mountain. I knew my work would just continue. I'd come down, it would be like before I went up. I would be attending court cases. I would be in the community. I would be presenting. My life with the Mauna would continue. But for many other people, they would come home and they'd say, oh my gosh, where's the ala? Where's the aha? 3 times a day for 9 months, we had been in ritual. And people had learned hula for the first time. They'd gone to the university there, Pu'uhuluhulu University. It was an accelerated learning experience culturally, traditionally, not just for visitors, but for our people. And I knew they'd be missing that. So I said, what can we do? Not just to inform, not just to stay connected, not just to inspire and be activated, be visible and a presence, but what can we give our people? so that they could remain with their kupe on the Mauna. So the mele from this particular chant is on this CD. We come down and I say, first thing, we're going to make a CD, a fundraiser CD. All proceeds go to the Mauna. It'll have prayers, chants, dances, spoken word, all the different things you experienced on the mountain. Play this. You can dance to it, chant to it, pray to it, and you'll be on the Mauna, because now I'm of service. It takes being of service. How am I going to remain visible? How are we going to remain visible as an organization? I have 7 people working for me in this organization who do all the things I can't do. Social media every day, technology and website, filming, all kinds of different things, because you have to be creative. So we become involved in a book project so that the movement and KÖKULU will be out there for our people to read about. We begin, I'm going to go back one. In 2018, we install our first KÖKULU exhibit. Why? Because part of this movement is to pay tribute to the people who stand. The KÖKULU, the pillars who stand for Mauna Kea. We wanted to say, we see you, we recognize you, and we honor you. And some of you, I'm sure maybe all of you on this call today, are part of those pillars that we wanted to honor. We are on with this exhibit right here on your campus. This is our 19th exhibit. We presently have, 19 exhibits since 2018. We have an exhibit, another current exhibit in Kohala in 5 locations. We have 2 displays at UH Manoa, and we're hoping for a third, larger one, but we spent our whole summer there with exhibits at UH Manoa. We finally got to UH Manoa. And our 20th is going to be on the island of Maui. And any community who want to honor pillars from Mauna Kea and their own community, just reach out to us, was what we said, and we will never turn you down. So we have also had 5 exhibits in California and 1 in New York, a total of 19. So I think what I'm saying at this point is that if you are the 24/7 organization, and for those of you who are, I honor you, because it's endless, because projects are just a part of it. We are in a court case right now with UH over administrative rules because it's not fair to cultural practitioners. We have challenged BLNR, who say that construction has begun. We say it hasn't, and we're waiting for that decision. We are holding Section 106 workshops for those who signed up, because the National Science Foundation is going to select which telescope they're going to fund. Is it the TMT, although we say it will never be built, or is it the telescope in Chile that's already being constructed? So the work is not just doing projects, it's in the trench. And you have to make sure that every single thing you do goes on social media and your website. And you better be ready to travel, so you have to fundraise. You have to write them social justice grants, because you need to get out into the world so that when you need them, they'll come running. So next month, we're in New York We've been there every year except for COVID since 2016 to help lead Indigenous Peoples Day on Randall's Island with the Indigenous people who are from there. And when we made the call out, many of them came to the mountain in 2019. And when they make the call out, we travel there. So all of that is so important. So I'm hoping that I'm laying that foundation for what it takes to maintain an organization that has chosen to be the 24/7. And then, of course, there are many other supporting organizations, alliances, individuals, nations, all supporting because we formed that relationship. And Mauna Kea is the people that brought it all together. So I'm going to pause again, and I'm going to ask if there's any other questions without looking at the chat. And again, for those of you who are here, mahalo for hanging in with me today. Maybe you can let me know after that you were on this call. And if there's anyone here from Mauna Kea Education and Awareness, my gratitude and appreciation to all of you for the work that you do. I could not measure.
I don't see anything in the chat right now, but I do have a question for you, Auntie. Like some of the people in this call right now are young activists, and I guess what would be your biggest piece of advice for them as they're starting to really get into it?
Sure. That's a whole class in itself, you guys. But young ones, your fire that you have within you, your commitment and dedication, your love for Hawaii, your aloha aina within you is so important. So I think the most important thing is if you see something you're going to stand for, whether it's in your own community or whether it's Mauna Kea or wherever you are right now, there are issues, there are situations for every single one of us to stand for. There is no place that is without one. Learn as much as you can about it. Be knowledgeable. Be grounded. We cannot just come forward. Emotion is great. Life experience is awesome. But you have to be knowledgeable. You need to know the laws. You need to know what your opponent knows. You need to know their arguments. You need to know their points so you can address them in a manner where you can stand and say, no, this is why. No is no, and this is why that is. So even as a teacher, I have spent years learning about Mauna Kea, learning about the laws, the guidelines, whatever is your niche. If you're going to commit to something, then commit. Also, young people, we need you everywhere. Yes, the front line is really the last resort. The front line is when every other thing that has worked, no matter what it is, nothing we've done has failed. Everything has worked for its time period that was necessary, and then we move to the next avenue. So don't ever think that, and even the contested case hearings, remember when we lost, we really won because all it did was unite us more. So a loss is a win most of the time. So really broaden and understand that. Don't give up after one loss. There is a longevity to this process. Most of us are older and we're still in. Don't get frustrated beyond hope. There's always hope. The love of Hawaii will get us through. Don't be angry. Be in the joy of what you're doing. Get into the legislature. Become a doctor. Be a lawyer. We need all of you. Become a medic. There is a role for every single person. And one day, maybe, I want to just sit in my chair and watch you all. Young people, gain experience and listen to the experiences, the wisdom of the elders. The elders are there for a reason. The elders have stood for a long time. Don't bypass them. Listen to them as I do my elders. I might be in my 60s, but there's elders in their 80s and their 90s, still sitting in those chairs, still standing strong. Never would I bypass that, because what they bring to the table are many times what we weren't even born to know yet. So there's so much. But what I really am saying is I love seeing all of you as young people taking your place where you're taking your place.
We do
Okay, so
have one more
okay, go
question.
ahead. Sure.
One question in the chat. It's not from a student, but the question is, how have the alliances with other indigenous groups opened up your practice to other sacred spaces threatened by development, or even specifically other telescopes?
Okay, so I'm going to start with, how do these alliances even begin? So alliances, when you stand for something, you have to make them, because it's not only about us in Hawaii. We want to extend outward, and a lot of those alliances we make have been standing a lot longer than we have. So what we can learn and gain from them, and then what they can learn and gain from us, is so valuable. So for me specifically, my alliances, 90% of them were made on Facebook. And how did I do that? From 2012, when I first got on, I would just watch what elders were doing, what leaders were doing, what warriors were doing, and I would private message them even when they didn't know me. And I would say, aloha, my name is Antipua Case. I stand for Mauna Kea, and I'm watching you. And I just want you to know that the next time I go to the mountain, I'm going to be praying for you. And I said that to LaDonna Brave Bull Allard of Standing Rock. And what did that do for us? What happened there was they stood for Standing Rock because we stood for Mauna Kea. They watched us stand in 2015. Their stance began in 2016. I went twice to Standing Rock, once in the winter, and so did many others of our people. And when we started in 2019, you best believe, not just she, but others from there came here to stand with us. So that could be a much bigger answer, but I'm just going to hold to that one specific example. Oh, I will say Chief Kaleen Sisk of the Winnemem Wintu came here to stand for Mauna Kea. She just came here to see me because my father had passed, and she wanted to make sure I was all right. And I've stood with her on her homelands to stand to bring back the salmon. That's what happens. That's probably the most beautiful part of this whole movement, are the people that began on Facebook, from all over the world, throughout the Pacific, from all of these islands, who are now my friends, relatives, allies, comrades, sisters and brothers, nieces and nephews. That's what it does. So I can, yeah, we're getting close to the end, and I really want to show you this and speak to it. So I did also, I'm going to bring this out right here. This is the schedule, and I'm not sure you can see it well. I just thought I'd just bring it. This is a schedule for our film. You know, when I said you got to be creative, we have been filmed for years now, 3 of us as families standing for Mauna Kea in a feature film is now showing at the Hawaii International Film Festival called Standing Above the Clouds. And everything I've said to you today will be kind of encapsulated in this film of 3 women and our families, our daughters. It's not easy to be the children of those who lead our own organizations. For those of us in the forefront, if you're a father, a mother, a uncle, or auntie, you know it's not easy. And sometimes, you know, there are challenges to it. But in the end, our girls, our boys are the next in line after us. And this film will show you what we go through, what we've gone through when we stand for something. So we're going to end with a clip today because the class is going to come to a close soon. And let's just go through these slides real fast just so I can go boom, boom, boom. Is that okay, Kavena, or you'd rather do that after? Okay, so you got to go see Kavena's, the exhibit that Kavena is hosting right now. Okay, because look, it's extended. Okay, and we're just going to keep going. KÖKULU, yes. Oh my gosh. If you never signed this petition yet, this is mandatory today. Go on Protect Mauna Kea, maunakea.info on Instagram, and then share it with 20 more. We're so close to 500,000. I've been saying this for years. Let's get to 500,000 so that I can go knock on Gordon and Betty Moore's office and say we're more than some Hawaiians and our allies. Okay, keep going. And this is where you can find us, mkea.info, or please follow Protect Mauna Kea. My younger daughter runs that, and you can find out everything that's going on because we collaborate with not just our own organizations in Hawaii, but beyond. So to all of you, I'm going to say mahalo right now, but don't leave. I want you to see this clip of Standing Above the Clouds because the first showings are at Kahala Theater, and we'll be there to make sure that we're there to greet you, to honor you. This is dedicated to all of you.
Mauna Kea is our actual ancestor. We are related to this mountain. We are taught to take care of this place.
The Department of Land and Natural Resources issued a notice to proceed for the 30-meter telescope.
It would be one of the largest moving structures ever constructed.
There's already 13 up on the summit. But this time, it was going to be the one too many, the one too big.
Hundreds have gathered at the base of Mauna Kea Access Road.
I want to know if we are in mid-prayer, will you just arrest us in mid-prayer? That's all. You're having to make plans with your own children on what happens if the police come. This moment our Kuna are going to remember forever, and so will we.
It is not about fighting something. It is about loving something.
A lot of things we do, it's like you don't really have a choice. If we don't do this, then like no one else might. So if it's our responsibility, it's our responsibility. Mauna Wākea is an elder. And we take care of our land as we take care of our ohana, our family. How could we not stand for this?
So I think we have about a minute left, and I just want to ask the instructor whose class I was invited to be a part of. One, I'm very grateful because it gives me the opportunity to share about Mauna Kea from my own life experience and from my family. And I just hope that everything that I said today is beneficial for your class in some way. And for those of you that are just on this call because you miss Mauna Kea, because you stand for Mauna Kea, because you love the mountain, or you're a personal friend or relative of mine, just really grateful to be on this call today.
Yes, mahalo nui. Definitely was very inspiring for us. One thing though, I wanted to ask you, one last question. What do you think about the healing effect of kapu aloha?
The healing effect of it, I would say I witness that and still today, every day. And one of the reasons is because kapu aloha and anger really cannot mix together. There at least has to be a balance. So kapu aloha is a manner in which we're standing. Doesn't mean we're not fierce, but we're not enraged. We're proud. We're inside, we're peaceful, even as we are standing, because we are standing in a manner that our kupuna would expect and demand from us. And that alone, without that, I have stood many years and been an angry activist, and it has wreaked havoc on my family, on my health, and many others as well. So with kapu aloha, it became that manner in which there became at least more of a balance. So yes, the component, the properties of it transformed us. It transformed us.
Mahalo nui. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so it looks like there's no other questions, but I did share the other videos in the chat if anybody is interested. And yeah, Auntie Pua will be at the library tomorrow.
I will.
Yes, for about an hour. So if anybody wants to stop by and talk story in person.
I'll be there about 11.
Yes.
I'd be happy to see anyone.
Yeah. So mahalo nui, Auntie Pua, and mahalo everybody for coming, and mahalo to our political science and also our Kanawai Hawaii class for coming today. And mahalo to everybody else too who joined us. So yeah, with that, I think we will end.
Aloha.